Art. Modern. Most people agree that modern art is art which was produced between the 1860s and the 1970s. Contemporary. Work. Paul Cézanne did some of his best work after 1880. Work. A work of art. This has got to be the best piece of work you've ever created. Create. Creative. Pop. Pop art. Museum. Exhibition. Studio. Gallery. An art gallery. Exhibit. Artist. Paint. Guernica was painted by Picasso in 1937. Painting. Abstract painting. Painting. An abstract painting. Draw, drew, drawn. Drawing. I've never been good at drawing. Drawing. Many of Dürer's most famous drawings were done in pen and ink. Proportion. If a painting is to look realistic, everything must be in proportion. The child's drawing was quite good, but the figures were out of proportion. Painter. Oil painting. Sculptor. Sculpture. Brush. Frame. A picture frame. Paint. Paintbrush. Watercolour. Pastel. Oil paint. Original. The museum owns an original oil painting by Whistler. Print. Is that an original? No, it's just a print. Original. Reproduction. Imitation. A cheap imitation. Forgery. Poster. Replica. Portrait. Landscape. Watercolour. Pastel. Collage. Engraving. Camera. Photography. Photographer. Justin's quite a good amateur photographer. Flash.
Music. I can't read music, so I have to play everything by ear. Musical. Sally is extremely musical. She can play 3 instruments. I didn't know you played a musical instrument. Sound. I love the sound of a piano. Sing, sang, sung. Voice. Linda's got a beautiful voice. Composition. Compose. Write, wrote, written. When I was a teenager, I really wanted to write songs. Song. Words. If you know the words, just sing along. Composer. Lyrics. Chorus. Melody. Tone. Tune. The old piano was so out of tune that no one could play it. On that particular evening, the entire choir always sang in tune. Note. Scale. Diane had to practice playing scales on the piano. Practice. Keith spent hours practicing a particularly difficult part of the song. Pitch. Just having perfect pitch doesn't make you a great singer. Beat. Harmony. Sian and her sister Gwen like to sing Welsh folk songs in harmony. Chord. It's a fairly easy song because it only has 3 chords. Play. What instrument do you play? Can you play the song by ear, or do you need the music? Instrument. Piano. Organ. Guitar. Philip plays lead guitar in several bands. Drum. Rex plays drums in a local rock band. Keyboard. Stringed instrument. Violin. Viola. Cello. Harp. Banjo. Woodwind. A woodwind instrument. Recorder. Flute. Clarinet. Saxophone. Bagpipes. Brass. A brass instrument. Trumpet. Trombone. Tuba. Musician. Player. A guitar player. Singer. A background singer. Guitarist. Drummer. Pianist. Conductor. Classical music. Opera. Musical. Jazz. Folk. Reggae. Gospel. Blues. Rock and roll. Rock. Heavy metal. Punk. Rap. Hip-hop. Pop. Techno. Concert. Take place, took place, taken place. The band's final concert took place on the 18th of June in Toronto, Canada. Tour. Our band was on tour in America last summer. Open air. An open-air concert. Festival. A music festival. Group. The Spice Girls were a well-known British girl group from 1994 to 2001. Band. Heavy metal bands are really big in Asia, especially in Japan. One of the most popular boy bands in the 1990s was Take That. Orchestra. Choir. A gospel choir.
Literature. Oral. The Old English epic Beowulf is in the tradition of oral literature. Tradition. Literary tradition. Contemporary. Contemporary literature. Influence. The works of the classic age had a tremendous influence on many later writers. Age. The classic age. The romantic age. Classicism. Romanticism. Romantic. Romantic poetry. Romantic poets. Realism. Work. A work of literature. Selection. The teacher chose a selection of modern short stories. Writings. Literary. Literary criticism. Masterpiece. Her last novel was a literary masterpiece. Classic. The works of T.S. Eliot and Dylan Thomas have become modern classics. Read, read, read. Reader. My son isn't much of a reader. Have you bought the new German reader we need for school? Write, wrote, written. Writer. Author. Manuscript. Draft. A rough draft. The final draft. Adaptation. Translate. Stephen King's latest book was translated from English into German by Stefan Müller. Translation. English translation by Phil Wright. Translator. Imagination. Humour. Humorous. Comic. Irony. Satire. In the 20th century, satire was used by authors such as Aldous Huxley and George Orwell to make commentaries on the dangers of social changes taking place throughout the world. Satire. Joseph Heller's Catch-22 is a satire on bureaucracy and the military. Parody. Parody and sarcasm are literary devices often used to produce satire. Parody. The film Scary Movie is a parody of a certain type of horror movie. Sarcasm.
Fiction. When I'm travelling, I prefer to read light fiction. Book. A book by Joanne Rowling. Text. Introduction. Conclusion. Chapter. Prose. Narration. Narrative. Non-fiction. Fictional. A fictional character. Section. Passage. Paragraph. Comment. Comment on a text. Episode. An episode is part of a longer narrative and describes a single action. Commentary. Essay. Story. A detective story. Novel. Historical. A historical novel. Mystery. A murder mystery. Sentimental. A sentimental novel. Science fiction. Fantasy. Novelist. Biography. Autobiography. Anecdote. Short story. Novella. Tale. Fairy tale. Myth.
Allegory.
Fable. Parable. A parable is a short narrative that contains a moral lesson. Perspective. Limited. A limited perspective. Point of view. Narrator. While the first-person narrator is a character in the story, the third-person narrator stands outside it. Omniscient. With the omniscient's point of view, the narrator stands outside the story, knows everything and is everywhere. Omniscience. The narrator's omniscience allows him to see, hear, and know everything. Stream of consciousness. James Joyce's Ulysses is one of the best-known examples of modern stream of consciousness novels. Flashback. In film and fiction, flashbacks are a way of presenting incidents that took place before the opening scene.
Poetry. Poem. Image. Tension. Tension in a poem is achieved through a balance of opposite elements, like abstract and concrete. Poet. Poetic. Poetic license. Rhythm, rhyme, and metaphor are poetic devices. Sonnet. Elegy. Elegies are solemn poems dealing with death or the end of something. Ode. Ballad. Epic. Nursery rhyme. Limerick. Limericks are a special type of nonsense verse with 5 lines rhyming A-A-B-B-A. Rhythm. Stress. Alliteration. Alliteration is the repetition of the same sound in words in the same line, e.g., the soft summer sun. Rhyme. Blank verse. Meter. Imagery. Simile. Metaphor.
Drama. Dramatic. Epic. Epic theatre. Catharsis. By experiencing pity and fear, the audience goes through a process of catharsis. Flaw. The tragic flaw in the character of the protagonist leads to the catastrophe. Catastrophe. Play. A one-act play. Comedy. Tragedy. Tragic. Melodrama. History. Richard III is perhaps Shakespeare's best-known history play. Sketch. Playwright. Act. Act 3, Scene 4. Scene. Character. Main character. Dialogue. Monologue. Prologue. A prologue is often found at the beginning of longer epics or plays. Epilogue. Dénouement. Comic relief. Pathos.
Form. Structure. The structure of a novel. The structure of a play. The structure of a poem. Function. What is the function of Rachel's dream in this story? Describe. Description. Contrast. The fast action in Scene 3 provides a strong contrast to the previous scene. Contrast. Please contrast the form of the text with its function. Criticize. Criticism. Critic. Review. Interpret. Interpretation. Analysis. Text analysis. Analyze. Characterize. Characterization. A direct characterization. An indirect characterization. Plot. Action. Where does the action of the play take place? Conflict. Ending. A happy ending. Concept. The play's concept is easy to understand. Subject. Theme. Setting. The setting of a novel. The setting of a play. Atmosphere. Mood. Suspense. Create suspense. Climax. Anticlimax. Stereotype. Protagonist. Antagonist. Villain. Style. Tone. The tone in a literary text shows the writer's attitude towards his subject or characters. Symbol. The rose is seen as a symbol of love. Stylistic. Stylistic devices. Personification. Allude. Allusion. Euphemism. Analogy. Paraphrase. Symbolize. Exaggerate. Exaggeration. Hyperbole. Understatement.
Description. Argument. Instruction. Discourse. Mode of discourse. Narration. Persuasion. Rhetoric. Rhetorical. Rhetorical devices. A rhetorical question. Diction. Register. Formal register, informal register. Literal. Literal meaning. Figurative. Figurative meaning. Connotation. The connotations of the word mother are warmth, love, security, etc.